It's almost like traveling back in time.
And you don't have to mention this part in your log.
Let's go. It looks like there's a civilization down there.
Wow. The soundboard's going a little nuts tonight. Welcome to Enterprise at 8 or 8-ish in this scenario. This is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise Rewatch series. It's been a long time, just over 20 years since tonight's episode Civilization first aired, but we're just getting from here to there. Do you like what I did there, everybody? You like that?
I loved it.
Okay, good. I'm Jody Simpson, and co-hosting tonight with me is none other than the man who fully believes in the Prime Directive, Adam Woodward.
You get to see why it's necessary tonight, don't you?
Exactly. Also joining Adam and I, our awesome producer and Star Trek uniform expert, Live Long and Podcast very own Dave Mader.
Hello, good evening. Yes, those are Vulcan policies, Jody, not human. So maybe you should back off.
It's true. And of course, guys, who could forget the person most likely to cosplay as Captain Archer at your local Comic-Con, Kevin Millard.
Well, I can't act, so I got that down.
Yeah, so he's perfect for this part, Jody.
Excellent. Anyway, tonight's episode is Civilization. This is the 9th episode in the series. This is the episode where Captain Archer and his crew disguise themselves as aliens while on an exploratory mission to an Earth-like planet, mostly probably due to budget constraints, where Archer enjoys the company of a female alien, just like Kirk. That's it. That's all we got. All right, so...
Well, that was.
Oh, do you want to talk about it? Okay, let's talk about it.
That was a high-level summary of it, yes.
It was pretty much. I thought it was a pretty good summary of it. So, boys, I don't know about you. This isn't my favorite episode.
Come on, Jody. They went to Renaissance Fair World, and much like Aaron Brockovich, they solved the illegal dumping operation for the mining.
It was like a LARP world.
It was like fracking met LARP world. You
had every social issue in 2001 all rolled into one on this one.
Right. It was. They filmed this apparently during 9/11. Even had to shut down the.
Really. I didn't know
the production for one day. Then they got right back to it apparently.
Right.
Yeah, and so maybe I don't know. Maybe they were just like, I don't know. We got to make a stupid episode about going to Renaissance Fair World and solving an environmental catastrophe. I don't know.
Do you feel like
I don't think. I'm sorry.
We're seesawing right now. Like good episode, bad episode. Good episode, bad episode.
Well, that's season 1. Season 1 is a lot of mediocre stuff.
It's not even so much that it's bad as it's like
done before.
Now, if you're going to compare this to episodes in other series, this is definitely an original series episode. Like, it's got pretty much everything that an original series episode. It has Archer falling in love with somebody. It's got accidental kissing. It's got somebody doing something bad for gain. It's everything that is in the original Star Trek series, in my opinion. But I guess the question really is, and it isn't just about me, guys. So, Adam, how do you feel about this episode?
Like you said, I mean, even this shot at the beginning when they showed the planet, like it had the rotation the same. I did like the zooming in though, like the fact that you could now see more than the original Enterprise could.
I like the fact that they didn't say enhance over and over again.
click.
Like they do with like CSI and stuff like that, right? So,
but I mean, the shots like the Clipper ship was kind of cool, and
that was
and then zooming in on people. I mean, it's all very interesting, but that's not good enough. We got to get down on the planet.
Mhm.
Well, and the thing I like about this is here comes T'Pol's expertise again, basically saying you don't need to go down there. Like, I don't know why you're going down there. Don't go down there. You don't need to. You got everything you need up here. It's fine. You don't need to do it. So,
But didn't they kind of prove her wrong?
did they?
Well, because if they had followed her advice, they never would have went down there. They maybe wouldn't have discovered these whoever these aliens were, these bad guys that were getting them were polluting this planet while they were looking for the Viridium mining operation or whatever, right? So if they had taken her approach, they maybe never would have discovered that. The victimization so they wouldn't have had this heroic thing, right? But like also they're like, even though they defeat the alien ship at the end and they scare them off or whatever, they're like, well, what's going to stop them from coming back? He's like, don't worry, we called the Vulcans. They're going to check in from you to time. Well, that's not really going to help. Quite frankly, I don't have any faith in the Vulcans to help these people.
No, the Vulcans don't care. They have no interest in pre-warp species.
No,
exactly. And in a way, though, that probably makes sense because realistically, these people have no business being in space. They're not there yet. And at this point, did we really need to go down there? I don't think we did.
The biggest problem I have with the writing sometimes on this show is that the Archer and Tucker in particular, these guys would not even be in NASA today. Like, and we're talking like they're 100 years from us, right? Or 130 years from now. And yes, locutors of track. And just reading the comments, Sam is still on for that Gilligan's Island
Sam
podcast.
wants that bad.
He's like, can I have a potential start date? When you become a producer, I can give you production updates, Sam. But until then, it's just on the horizon. I'm sorry.
Sometime.
But happy birthday.
But yeah, well, on Saturday, not today.
Well, it doesn't matter. We're saying happy birthday because we won't get to say it until he's already older.
Yeah, it's like it's not even so much that it's just their behavior. They're like little kids, and like they don't act like astronauts.
No,
right?
They absolutely do not. And
that's the point.
But they are astronauts.
I don't mind that so much. I mean, if they didn't, they wouldn't be interesting at all if they didn't do anything. Like,
right?
Yeah. I don't like Archer.
Starfleet could have sent a probe out here, guys.
Except for when you cosplay as
out here to make maps and take pictures, but they didn't. They sent us.
Honestly, there was a point in this episode where I literally yelled at the screen, has Scott Bakula ever acted before?
I'll give you that answer, Kevin. It is no.
Have you guys seen that?
Have you seen Quantum Leap?
Have you seen the Captain's documentary with William Shatner?
Yes.
And when he interviews Scott Bakula, and Scott Bakula does his like do like his like operatic like thing. I'm like, I think Scott Bakula wanted to be a lounge singer. I don't think he ever wanted to be an actor.
I think Scott Bakula wanted to be a stage performer.
Yeah, maybe
he's not good enough. No, in any way.
So he went back to the next best thing, which is acting in a prequel series of Star Trek.
Right.
Well, we all saw Shatner, so
like to jump around. To jump around a little bit, is anybody buying this relationship between the him and her? Like
Rian? You mean Rian?
Kevin, it just seemed like a big reach to what Kirk would have done, in the writing,
But he acted it so wooden and so like he was just talking at her.
Yes,
instead of having a conversation.
She seemed like a pretty decent actress, and I think she was wasted, honestly.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but when they first walk into the shop, why does he walk in there like he's the Terminator? Like he walks in straight, doesn't look over, and then just turns and looks over. Like, what is going on with this guy?
But even then, like he says, "Oh, my friend is looking for some. He's an amateur. Antique
guys,
collector or something."
Focusing on the big problem here.
No. Wait.
No,
Let me
no. The
finish.
biggest problem in this episode is the quartermaster. Do you
With
know
their
why?
outfits?
Yes, because T'Pol, who has ears that stick out of her fucking hair, they don't give her a hood, but they give the girl, the translator, the fucking hood. That makes no sense at all.
I got another item for consideration.
All right.
Okay, from what we could tell, right? Like everybody in the city they went to was Caucasian, right? What we would consider human Caucasian. So, I thought Hoshi in particular would stand out in this particular place.
She's got a tan. It's fine. That's
What are you
not
talking
nearly
about?
as bad as not giving fucking T'Pol a hood.
That makes no logical sense.
Everybody else in the team had a hood. She didn't. Like, what's
She
the
could
issue
just
here?
do the data thing and say she was a Frenchman.
Yes. Well, I'm
Gen
surprised they
Xers.
didn't actually. Quite honestly. Anyway, let's get on with this story. So essentially, they find this planet. They realize that it has 500 million people on it.
Yep.
Something like that, 500 million people. And obviously, Archer is, like a kid in a candy store. He's like, I gotta go make first contact. And he gets really disappointed when he realizes that they have technology that they shouldn't have. So at this point, he's like, oh, we're not the first person here. I was surprised he didn't just be like, okay, Mayweather, let's, flip this bitch and get out of here. I'm surprised he even bothered. But, that's where we're at. Obviously, they go down in their nice little costumes, which I've already expressed my disinterest on that. And they run into
This
various
is what these
things.
people wear on this planet.
Yeah, they wear that stuff, which is fine. Obviously, they give them prosthetics to give them the little ridges near their eyebrows. That's fine. You know what? At least we got Phlox on screen for a while in this episode, which is something that we need more of.
He's doctor and makeup artist.
He is just an all-around dude.
I always like when they show them getting ready, like getting the costumes on and the doctors, straightening their hair out or their.
But normally we get like surgical, like the doctor's doing surgical modifications. He was just painting this on with.
He's just makeup artisting it.
And in fairness to Jody, like where were the ears? Like she could have easily been put, normal ears on or different ears. But
Just give her a fucking hood. That would have solved the whole thing.
The headband, yes, the Spock headband for sure.
Spock headband.
Or the Spock headband would have been fine too. Obviously, the Spock headband hasn't happened yet, but it kind of has happened yet, but it hasn't happened yet.
They question, you must not be from around here with a name like John, or you must not be. Are you two from the same province? Because he doesn't when they're in that shop and they don't know what that mask is.
Oh right? Yeah, like okay, come back to that for a second. I was just trying to talk about that. So Trip is thrown under the bus here. You got to talk about what you want, and then. Yeah, an obvious reference to something cultural is made, and he goes, this is Draylen. He's only a demon or something, and they had no idea.
Yeah, he's like the devil. He was their version of the devil or something.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I love that.
But again, you're exactly, Dave. You're so right about like they just are so amateur.
They're just like.
But that's part of it, though.
Wait, why is it part of it, Jody?
Because these are the first people out, Dave.
It doesn't. We are a planet of billions.
Dave, let me give you an analogy.
Smart, really good humans. Okay, these were not the
Dave.
guys
The first time you
got.
played hockey, were you absolute garbage? Of course you were. Okay, the first time they're out past their planets, they're garbage. Okay,
yeah, but you know what? Again,
works.
Jody, you get like I'm sure T'Pol is just again rolling her eyes, like, what the hell am I here?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the whole point of T'Pol. T'Pol is there to guide them. And if we notice later on in the episode, she clearly does. To the point where she basically just tells Trip to shut the fuck up, essentially. Well, and I'm doing my own shit, and that's all there is to it.
She's the captain of the ship when the captain's gone.
That's right. She's
and Trip
second
again,
in command.
Dave, again, he's questioning the like.
Well, yeah, I feel like Tucker should be demoted
Yes.
I think Tucker just does it to piss her off. I don't even think he actually cares.
No.
no.
He cared.
He does it out of
wasn't
loyalty
leaving
to
Archer,
Archer,
behind.
but
I would leave Archer behind in a fucking heartbeat, but not Tucker.
He's dead. Let's move.
Yeah, but these characters exist in a world where they like Archer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
defies all logic.
Wow, we really hate this episode so far.
You know what? I don't actually hate the episode. From a viewpoint of a Star Trek episode, it's a half decent episode. It's not terrible. There is way worse episodes in this series. We've even encountered some already. But is it a good episode? No. I think it's a mediocre episode. We're not gaining any new ground here. Everything's been done. How many people, when the minute Archer went down on the ship, did they automatically assume that he was going to fall in love with somebody, or he was going to at least have relations with them? Because I knew that was going to happen. I've already seen the episode, mind you, but I knew it was going to happen anyway. Mm-hmm. And Kevin obviously is the only one probably who has never seen this episode before. Kevin, did you think that was going to happen?
No, I didn't think anybody would want to be anywhere near Archer. I didn't think that was going to happen. But as soon as that,
this is the trope that always happens in Star Trek, though.
Yeah, I understand that, but
it even happens with Janeway, and Janeway barely did that, but it still happened with Janeway, and obviously Sisko had happened to quite a lot, and obviously even Picard to a lesser degree, but it did happen. It's the trope of if the captain goes down into the on the party, something is going to be affected with him. So something is going to be a big thing, right?
It's even better when he starts sending people back to the ship to, analyze this and analyze that. Oh, I'll stay here and do some more research.
Yeah. But that's the one thing I liked about this episode was T'Pol, because T'Pol through the entire episode is kind of like, this is dumb. Why are we doing this? But I have my orders. I'm going to do the best I can. I like the scene where the Rain or Ron or whatever the hell her name is, she's making the tea, and he tells T'Pol to, T'Pol's got the sample of the water, and she's like, well, enjoy your tea, Captain, and she just walks away. Yeah. Like, I'm a douchebag, but that's fine. It's funny, right? And it's I think T'Pol is the best part of this episode.
Again,
yeah, she always is.
Very, very much so. Yes. I would have loved to see her as being the captain, but it wouldn't make sense for her to be.
I thought that exact same thing when they were on the ship. I was like, I would watch this show if she were the captain. I know it would make no sense to have a Vulcan as the captain, but
I would. One thing that's nice about how they've written Archer is the kind of guy who's very hands-on. He doesn't want to be on the ship. He wants to be down all the time. So there's a lot of opportunities through the series where T'Pol really is running the show. Which is good because that brings a little bit more into light on what's going on, and she's not like Janeway. Like Janeway is a fairly ballsy captain, but Janeway also didn't really follow the rules nearly as much either. Where T'Pol really does follow the rules. Like she's fairly predictable, but there's nothing wrong with that. She's, in my opinion, she's a great character. So, but the main thing.
So far, what I'm interested in this series is the one thing I think they're doing well is showing how humans and Vulcans are affecting each other and changing each other sort of as races. Like you can tell, like the Prime Directive.
Yeah, well, that doesn't exist yet, right?
But it is Vulcan.
Vulcan has one.
No, but
a version of that, yeah.
Yes, and we'll adopt that as humans. We'll adopt that. But then you can see the Vulcans in later series are a little different than they are. They're a little more accepting, a little more curious, a little more.
But that's really the point of this show. The point of the show is to show how we do it wrong, right? And they have to learn from all the other species. Like they have to learn from the Vulcans. There's a reason why the Vulcans have a Prime Directive. There's a reason why they have that type of thing.
When do we get the Vulcan prequel?
This shows exactly why. Right?
Do we get a Vulcan prequel show where they're fucking up all the time and being idiots?
Is the same show. They are too. They're learning from us as well.
They're learning how to deal with humans and how we're not what they expected us to be.
Right? I think there could be humans that are more like T'Pol, like who are professionals, like who are trained, who have gone through simulations. When I get to the alien world that's pre-warp, our protocol is this. They had nothing to do for decades but sit around and write regulations. Like when they get out into space, and they don't even have any. They're like, well, we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah,
And
and that's the
as
thing.
we go
And
along.
there comes a point in the series, which obviously we're nowhere near yet, where basically the ship is ordered back to Earth. They basically said it's too dangerous for you to be out now. We're going to have to go back to Earth, and that's where the Makos come in, and stuff like that.
The whole Zindi thing and whatever. But
Well, it's during the Zindi thing, but it also shows the fact that we're not actually ready yet, right? They finally get to a point where they're at a barrier where it's no, we're really over our head here. We shouldn't be out there, at least not without extra help, right? And that's where you get more tie-ins with the Vulcans and stuff later on in the series, which obviously the only one that hasn't seen that yet is Kevin. But that's what I like about it, and that's what this episode shows. This episode shows how not to do this, because really everything they do is wrong. Like Archer, almost everything Archer does is wrong in this episode. T'Pol's the only one that's really doing anything right in the episode, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I feel like Archer is like, I'm like, how many lives does this guy have? Like, how many?
Well,
like,
millions. Archer has
right?
millions.
Like, you want to think about like the early NASA guys screwing up, like Apollo 1 blowing up on the launch pad, or when Challenger was destroyed. Like, there's got to be consequences sometimes, but like there isn't to these guys. They just
Well, they're out far enough that the people that are going to give them consequences can't. Right.
Or they would like, it would have been interesting if they went down to this planet and they're firing their phasers, and then like the civilization starts like is contaminated. Maybe they kill one of the away team members. They burn them at the stake or something.
Yeah, has Archer lost anybody yet? I can't remember.
No.
Yeah.
Not yet. It's coming though.
The captain needs to lose somebody. Like, here's a quote from this episode: 78 light years to get here, and our first act is breaking and entering.
Yes.
To
I
Dave's
love
point.
it. I like that one.
Maybe you don't have to mention this part in your log.
Maybe you don't have to mention this part in your log.
So, well, anyway, the story continues. Eventually, they figure out where this reactor is, which at the time, I guess they don't know what the reactor is. They figure out that this is obviously alien technology. Archer is then interested. Him and T'Pol basically try to break into this. As we just mentioned, they break into this. What was it? Just a shop, or
It was some kind of shop.
it was like some sort of
Antique
vendor
shop.
shop or something like that. So anyway, they end up going to break in this Reen or Ron or whatever. her name is. Rian, is that it? Okay, Rian basically sees them because she has suspicions about what's going on in this shop as well, because she's seeing deliveries happening at night, and then all of a sudden all the boxes are missing in the morning, stuff like that. So she has her own worries about this, and then obviously they now have a common goal, which the common goal is obviously to find out what's going on. But Archer isn't really all that. He's not really coy at all. He's just kind of there, like. And I'm telling you, man, the amount of times that phaser shows up in the middle of the out in the open where people can see it is remarkable. Like, especially for, somebody who shouldn't be interfering with this with the civilization.
Worst part is that he gives the guns back to them at the end after he beats them in the gunfight, and then he's like, "Here's your guns back."
Yeah, here's your guns back.
I would have kept the guns.
Yeah.
Well,
you can't leave it with the people that don't know how to
you
use
confiscate them. You bring them back,
I guess.
Yeah, but you take them back to your ship and you study them.
Yeah.
So we have Devin from Lacuders of Trek is saying, "So fellas, who wants to be on the next Debate 9? Putting you all on the spot live."
If I can
guess
fit
it
it in,
depends on when
Devin,
it
I
happens.
will. But
Is it only DS9 trivia though?
no. He just likes his puns. So
He just likes his puns, because if it's DS9 trivia, I'm going to be screwed. So
no, it's debating.
There's so much
Star
diversity
Trek.
in DS9 that I don't remember most of it.
It's like Trivial Debates, but Star Trek, kind of.
Oh, okay. Well, if my talk to me after the podcast, how's that? Maybe I'll jump on. If not, Dave, I'm sure. I think Dave was on the last one though, weren't you?
I've been on Debate 9, yeah.
Have you? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
I haven't been yet because
there's Archer
keep
in the
scheduling it
background
at times when
trying
we're
to be a
doing
real boy.
podcasts.
Yeah. Like maybe one of the subjects, Davin, should be: is Archer a good captain? And
And the answer is no.
That's a terrible debate question.
I know, but
Yeah,
No.
I don't know how you could debate yes, but anyway, that's fine.
somebody's got to try.
Anyway, let's get back to where we're here for, boys, which is this episode, which is mediocre. But at least my opinion. I guess we'll find out your opinion later. Anyway, they end up figuring out that there's this alien race that's fracking, essentially.
Yeah, fracking.
Yeah, they're fracking and they're producing this chemical, which is getting into the water system of the village, and it's starting to create this epidemic. I don't know what that epidemic word means. I'm not familiar with it. But no, I don't know what's
Only
going
pandemic?
on. Pandemic. Yes, I know what that is, but I'm just kidding. But yeah, so anyway, we have this, and then obviously fights and stuff like that ensue. The problem is I'm having a hard time really telling this story because there's not a lot of points to it that are.
There's not.
It would have been really nice if they had found this planet and gone down to it, and literally anything else happened.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Like I don't buy the fracking. I don't like the villain. I don't like it. It all falls so flat for me.
Yeah, and I'm with you on this one, Kevin. This is one of my least favorite episodes of season 1. Yet some people like it. It doesn't have a bad rating.
There are aspects I like. I like T'Pol and
T'Pol is great in this episode.
And Tucker fighting on the bridge, even though
Not
Dave
bad.
doesn't like that.
But you know what though? Like he's representing Starfleet, right? And she's not, right? At least that's how he looks at it still.
I get it, but he's completely in the wrong.
Completely.
Absolutely. And he mostly is. Oh, my dogs are barking.
And he never has to take any shit for it.
Yeah. Yeah. But who's gonna give him shit? He's out in the middle of nowhere.
The captain should.
Only Archer's gonna give them shit, and he's too busy kissing girls because translators aren't working.
You know what the problem with this episode is that yes, they've done it too many times. The episode with Next Generation where Data was Jaden and he died on the planet, that was a way better storytelling of this episode.
Absolutely,
it just was sloppy.
The one in original series where the one with festival. What's that one?
Is that
Return of the Archons?
Archons?
Yeah. Like Return of the Archons. That's a much better version of this trope. I think Voyager even did this better. Voyager did this story a few times, and
Voyager did at least one episode like this every season. Like it
for
almost
sure.
every season.
And Next Gen and D Space did a few of these too. And so I guess if you're going to do this in Enterprise, you're going to tell the prequel version of this. Do something interesting with it.
Screw it up and.
Yeah, like do something with it. Like do it. Like have a crewman die.
You can't take a story like something from the original series and go, okay, we're going to do the exact same story. We're just going to make it look like we're more buffoons. Like that's literally what the formula is here. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to screw it up more.
No, that's not compelling to see
not at all.
Your crew just be bad at their jobs.
Honestly, if you're gonna watch this episode, watch the last 10 minutes. That's all you really need. That's when T'Pol's good in this episode. She's good throughout the episode, but that's when it's really the focus.
Even her tactics fighting that ship. I mean, she was good again.
Oh, that was awesome. It was nice to see her do that. Yeah, absolutely. Especially after they do that. They blow up the reactor in space, and then she's like, "All right, flip this bitch around and take a shot at them." It's like, all right. All right, T'Pol, she's doing it.
I think most of the time we like to see our heroes like succeed and be good at what they do, for the most part. Exactly. And that's kind of the thing with Enterprise. I'm like T'Pol is, she's like the exception, but the rest of them, Phlox is fine. I think he seems all right.
Oh, Phlox is great. Phlox is great. At least he got more airtime on this episode, which is something that we seriously don't get enough of is Phlox.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they made this the Phlox and T'Pol show in a shuttlecraft, I'd probably enjoy it more.
And I felt like everybody's excitement over, I get that they're supposed to be excited about finding this planet, but I found that everybody's excitement was childlike. Like it wasn't adults finding this and being excited.
Yeah, it wasn't scientific excitement. It was adolescent excitement.
Yeah,
and it doesn't work as well.
I don't even know sometimes from a scientific standpoint, and we talked about this when they were chasing the comet, and T'Pol, who's the science officer, didn't care. Yes. Right?
Yeah. Paul's like, meh.
She doesn't care.
I've seen comets.
She doesn't care about comets. She wants to stay away from civilizations that are pre-warp, maybe for good reasons. I'm like, what do you care about, T'Pol?
No. But T'Pol just wants to keep them out of trouble because every time they go and do something, it's a disaster.
100%.
He's got to bail them out.
That's right. She's got to fix the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. She's like, I'm the adult. I'm the babysitter. That's my
Anyway, with this episode, essentially, Archer discovers that this is happening. All that. T'Pol ends up doing some of her own sleuthing while Archer's busy chatting up the Rion one. So she goes back to the ship. She talks with Phlox. Phlox has a look at this sample and says, "Oh, you got lube in your water. That's what you got. You got lube in your water." That's
Toxic
essentially
lube.
what he says. It's toxic lube in your water. That's really what it is, right? Like he didn't say it. He said it was this is a industrial lubricant that has a certain value, blah, 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 right? But really, what it is it's lube. So either there's a lot of sex going on, non-edible sex going on right now, or something else more sinister is happening, which is this fracking.
You know what would have
which
made me
obviously is
connect
later.
with this story a little bit more too is more of seeing the victims. Like it's
Yes.
like
We saw two people.
this big huge thing going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
And we see two people with illness.
I missed them. But we
So there's a
barely-
scene where her and what is it? Her
It was
and
T'Pol and Hoshi were.
Hoshi, yeah. And this is when I noticed the fact that Hoshi's wearing a hood, but T'Pol doesn't get one, and that irritated me through this entire scene. But
You and the hoods.
Hoshi looks around. Well, it only makes sense, Dave. Somebody who is a uniform person like yourself, it would make sense for her to go down with a hood on.
Or at least
Hoshi's the only Asian in this entire city.
It doesn't matter.
Why does the hood matter more than that?
Just because you see, black people and Hispanics and stuff
Do
like
you know
that.
anything about human
their
history?
representation of it. What?
You know anything about human history? Like when we first saw people of other ethnicities, we didn't just we didn't.
Yes, but they're living in the 21st century, Dave.
Not these people. They're living in
Yes, but the Enterprise crew is.
The Enterprise crew, but we're not talking about the Enterprise crew. We're talking about.
So Jody, are you saying
I know, I'm just dancing around you. That's all.
You're just throwing me in circles.
I'm just trying to get you angry.
I think Jody's saying is that it wouldn't even occur to Archer's crew to see that as a problem.
No, but what Dave is saying is it's the civilization, in the fact that there's nobody else, but yet Hoshi looks different than the rest of them and stuff like that. That
would
Dave's
draw
point.
attention. That would draw attention.
Yeah. It would draw attention, but maybe that's why they gave her the hood. So it's casting a shadow on her face, so it makes her look darker.
Right, and maybe that would have been interesting. Okay, we didn't even think of it because we're 22nd century humans. We would never even dare think of such things. But these aliens, they don't know that. Like they are not as involved, or they might be. Maybe
Dave,
they
if
don't
this
care.
is the only problem you have with this episode, I expect a high rating from you.
Well, that's not my only problem. It's one of
okay.
but I'm like, if you're gonna do something, like maybe do something original with it. Like do something more.
Well, this is an original concept for an episode by any chance. Like every series has done this episode before, and like this isn't like a mirror episode where it's fun and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know what though? I mean, for like how many we had original series, Next Gen, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. So this is the 5th series.
Yes,
and they didn't do something more fun with it.
Yeah, it's fine to repeat, but do it well.
Yes.
Do it fun.
I completely agree. And I'm not defending this episode at all. I'm just saying, like, the race thing is nothing close to what I'm worried about through this episode. This episode is just boring. It's a boring episode, other than when T'Pol's on screen. When T'Pol's on screen, which is about 10 minutes of it, that's fun. I really enjoyed her at the end. The best part of this episode is the ending, by far.
Yeah, and Trip to me is just a spoiled little kid. And
right now he is, absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
He wants to have the fun too. Yeah,
but
they don't develop him in the first season though at all.
No,
like,
I know it's coming. It's coming. I get that, but I just think.
But we have to not be so harsh though. The first season of every one of these series has been terrible.
Yeah, okay,
like,
but to Dave's point, he is the chief engineer of the ship. Like, there's got to be some kind of discipline, decorum, and chain of command.
He's the second officer,
Yeah.
But we always get the impression that Trip doesn't really acknowledge that T'Pol is in charge. And that's something that we see throughout the entire first season. We see him always getting aggravated with her, and she gets aggravated with him back, but she doesn't show it.
No, okay, but hold on. Last week, we were almost Trip is starting to understand her, and they're working together, right? They had some progression. Right. Even at the beginning of this episode, when they're going down to the planet in the shuttlecraft, he calls it to Paul, quietly, cover your ears, like you think that something's going to happen here, and then he just completely disrespects her later in the episode.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I agree that it's he's not a good character right now. He's not a likable character in my opinion. He's just there, and he has no tact at all. I think they're trying to almost make it like he's almost like a hillbilly.
He's a good old boy,
Yeah, he's a good old boy that doesn't mind saying what he wants to say, and not who gives a shit about the rules, right? And
like Bones.
No,
absolutely. I agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Except he's an engineer and not a doctor or whatever.
Yeah. Well, some would say doctors are engineers, just of a different brand, right? So
but he does a different job. But I think that whole T'Pol and Trip thing is supposed to be like Bones and Spock, I guess, in some ways, but sexualized.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't disagree with you on that.
I think like they have chemistry in some scenes, but in other ways, like when they have these fights, these like cat fights on the bridge in front of the whole crew, I'm like, this can't be good.
And like poor old Mayweather, like, belay that order.
What do I do?
Well, Mayweather at least gets to talk in the next episode for a good chunk. So we get to see more of Mayweather.
Right? He's literally not in this show.
He's useless. He's totally useless in the show at the beginning.
He's got a good episode coming up.
He does have a good episode coming up. Yeah.
So. A Mayweather episode?
They just forget about him for a while.
Like, we like to talk about is Hoshi even on the show? He's like on the show less than her.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Is Archer a good captain? Answer: yes. Recruiters of Trek. I think you may have lost all your credibility with one sentence.
One answer.
Yeah. Anyway, well, you know what? It sounds like he wants to fight that one. So maybe Dave might be the best person for that.
For what?
For fighting that Archer is a terrible captain.
I could take that. No problem.
All right. The real challenge is, can you argue he's the best captain?
Well, I think Davin's ready to argue that he's the best captain. Anyway, you know what? I'm so tired of even talking about this episode at this point. Unless you guys have something to talk about here. It's honestly, you can skip this episode. You don't even need to watch it. It's not that great. It's got a couple neat scenes in it, but if you like Phlox and you like T'Pol, maybe jump to just their scenes. And honestly, you're not missing much of a story if you do that. You really aren't.
I think I said this before, but do you remember watching episodes like when TV was a thing and you had to wait for the next week and you go,
yes,
damn, that sucked.
I would be so disappointed after this episode. I'd be like, fuck, I waited for this.
I remember that specifically with this show.
You too.
Never came.
But it was the second episode, right?
Yeah, but guys, like you being a bit older than me, like you guys remember when, especially I guess Next Generation was like in its early years, and I don't think was very well received at the beginning.
I remember waiting for Best of Both Worlds. I remember waiting for that. I remember going, "Oh my god, the series that I love is over. This is going to be the end."
That's between season 3 and 4. So I'm talking like
I mean, not Best of Both Worlds. Sorry,
season 1, season 2. I watched the
last
premiere, and I remember watching that, and I didn't love it. I gotta say,
I had the same problem with Picard 2 years ago because I waited for episodes and then I was like,
okay, so Picard though, I just finished it. It wasn't bad.
I have done exactly what you've done, and I've started watching it again because that new trailer that just dropped like a couple days ago. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Like, Guinan's in there now.
I haven't watched anything.
You haven't seen that trailer yet? What are you doing?
I want to stay away from them until.
The trailer just makes me want to know what's going on.
Trailers are lies. They're just lies.
You know what though? It's hard to lie based on what they're doing. It's hard to lie, but
don't watch trailers because they're lies.
Well, but Dave, they are lies. But
the other side of it too. Like in university, it was like Thursday nights when we were watching Next Gen. Before we went to the pub. and I remember the same feeling is that sometimes you get that episode that just sucked, and you go, "Oh, I was so looking forward. It's my whole night."
And you drink more at the pub.
I watched Star Trek, I watched Simpsons, and then we went out drinking. And
The worst thing about those bad episodes is they cost you more at the pub.
And I went through that. I remember going through that phase. I think in DS9's early seasons because I was a huge Next Gen fan.
sure.
But when DS9 came along, I was like,
I was so angry with the first episode of DS9 because I was so excited about it. You know, they start off with Wolf 359. You're like,
Yeah, that was- it was a great
this is
start.
going to be awesome. And then it's like, what the fuck is this? I was so
Yeah,
angry.
I remember
They're opening-
a lot of days of the Deep Space Nine and going, oh, what was that?
Especially that first season. That first season is a trog. It is
Right.
so terrible.
and I do accept that all of these seasons, especially their first season, whether it be Picard, Next Gen, or even original series,
Next Gen's
Discovery.
Discovery, certainly, they all had their growing
Wow.
pains. They all had their stumbling as they had to kind of figure out how to write for them. You know, in the case of
Yes.
Enterprise, they got canceled as they were just kind of starting to find their legs. You know,
Yeah, I would think the third season and the fourth season are really the two good written seasons, in my opinion.
But I remember
there's
that
still
the
stinkers in there too.
But the explanation back then was just like, okay, we're just Star Trek'd out. Like we've done now how many years of this?
Well,
it was 1987 to 2005.
five
was
series before this. Yeah,
right. There was always a show on TV, sometimes a couple shows on TV at one in a given year.
and this is also a terrible time in human history to be starting a series as well. Like it's 2001 was not a good year. You know, there was
it changed,
and the years to follow weren't that great either. So
the Bush years.
yeah, the Bush years, I guess, is a good way to look at it. Yeah.
But also how it changed even television. Like Battlestar Galactica was post 10/11, and that was just a different tone completely.
Right,
Yeah.
and Battlestar Galactica, I think, revolutionized science fiction at the same time that Enterprise was kind of showing that Star Trek had to evolve, right? Because Star Trek, I guess, was kind of locked into a formula. Like, I looked up the writers of this episode, and it's a couple of Voyager staff writers. A lot of, like, the Voyager creative team just kind of
a lot of Voyagers in this series.
They just came over to Enterprise because, and a lot of those Voyager people had been Next Gen people before that. So they were, it was kind of like they were just moving to the next thing. And while there is a certain way, I think, to do things in Star Trek, I think that they got a little bit too formulaic, a little bit too uninspired. You know, and this is an example where, like,
franchise fatigue. That's what it is.
We're doing the episode where the crew goes undercover into the alien planet, and
we also have to remember the first season of this series is very much like the first season of all of these series, where it's like every episode is a different thing, and you know, you don't need to see one for the other and stuff like that. This series really, especially in season 2, that's where it starts carrying over these like multi episode things where you see stuff that happened 2 episodes ago and you're like, well, if you didn't see that episode, you wouldn't know what's going on. So it's very serialized at this point. So it's getting there, right? So I guess these were kind of the floppy episodes that they decided to throw in at the beginning, and then, you know, they finally started getting into more of the serialized stuff later on. But like, is this a terrible episode? I don't think it is.
It's not terrible. It's
it's not like, oh, this is a terrible episode and never watch this again. Like, there's episodes of the original series I'll never watch again. I'll never watch that goddamn hippie episode again. I'll never watch that episode again. It is terrible.
I will watch them all
sometimes
over and over again.
No, there is so many terrible Miri. I don't need to see Miri again.
Sometimes the bad ones are
for
almost
totally different reasons.
better to go back to. Because, like, I remember, like, when we were talking about Spock's brain in original series, and the whole panel was like, "This is the worst thing ever." I was like, you know what? It entertained the hell out of me. I don't care.
Brain and brain. What is brain?
And
brain?
At least
brain.
It's so far out there. It's so ridiculous. Like Move Along Home in Deep Space Nine, or just these what they're completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't need to see Move Along Home and ever again.
But is it better just to be sort of this safe, middle, mediocre, kind of uninspired blah? You know, is that a better choice?
We have to have those. We have to have them, because if we don't have them, we have 10 episodes, right? Like, you're going to have shitty episodes. It happens. And you got to remember, this might not be our cup of tea, but there's somebody out there that probably loved this episode. They thought it was great, right? You know, there's always those people. Yeah, but let's be honest. There's always those people. There's people out there that think that The Force Awakens was a good Star Wars movie. Like,
wasn't it?
Guys. No.
I'm just joking with you.
But and there's people that think that Phantom Menace was the most amazing, Star Trek episode, Star Wars movie in the world, and so just because it's not our cup of tea doesn't mean somebody didn't enjoy it. I'm sure somebody did, but
nobody did. Nobody enjoyed that. Acting.
Unfortunately, Kevin, as much as you and I both would like to represent the general population, I don't think either one of us do.
In this case, I do. I checked with everyone. Nobody likes this.
I remember a certain Kevin Millard that said he would never watch Enterprise. And here he is.
And you know what? I'm shitting on this episode pretty hard, but I'm still enjoying the series enough. Good. It's quickly becoming Kevin hates Archer at 8.
I don't know. Your intro says that you're going to cosplay as him, but I guess we'll see.
I didn't put that. Okay, so there's interesting fun facts here that I think we have to get to.
Well, I think we're getting close to fun facts. So let's just summarize the rest of this episode. T'Pol finds out problem. Archer gets angry. Archer says, I'm going to get vengeance, blah, 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 blah. And what ends up happening is essentially they find a way to get this stupid thing off the planet. They end up sending it into space. T'Pol shoots it, blows it up, then threatens them and shoots at them some more. And everybody flies off, has a good day. That's pretty much it. They want it
so bad, maybe we'll just give it to them.
And somebody's going to check up on these people eventually. That's
we called the Vulcans, even though they're also 75.
And Archer kissed the girl at the end. That's all you really need to know. That's it. Okay, fun facts.
All right.
Did I do a good job?
So here's a couple of good ones. Mike Sussman, who we all know is a writer and producer, saw the incorporation of the Millurians. So they're the lizard folk. Yeah. Here is an amusing
lizard on the inside, right? Was that the idea?
Yes,
this guy
lizards on the inside.
These are the people that are running the U.S. government, if you believe the people on YouTube.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
Coming back to this, so you remember that scene where Archer was fighting and the mask came off and it looked like V when they had
which was kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
He saw it as an amusing in-joke. They've originally been mentioned in the original series, the Changeling, as a species that was wiped out by Nomad. Sussman later recollected, it was like, wouldn't it be great to see these guys? So we made them bad guys in Civilization, the Green Lizard guys, and they get their comeuppance 100 years from now.
Because there's like the guy with his face peeling off in that fight. So because they said Millurians, I was like, what's a Millurian? I don't remember this species being mentioned. So Nomad, who also like erased Uhura's memory, right, and reduced her down to, and she had to relearn everything. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's like maybe but because I didn't put that together. It didn't like, oh, cool. I got to hear about the Millurians.
No. I know.
Good thing we have this podcast, or I would never have really picked up on that.
Why didn't they spend 10 minutes and explain a little bit more to this? Like,
I would have liked to have known that species a little more for sure.
Yeah. Because literally we didn't know them from the original series and we still don't know them now. So it doesn't really help.
Yeah, you only get like this really brief shot where you see this guy's like face.
Now, let's be honest though, this guy's face peeling off, that's pretty cool.
It was. Again, they just didn't do enough of it, That's
the problem. Yeah. It's they tease me. What they do is they put out the really good hors d'oeuvres, but then they take them back when dinner gets served instead of letting me chow on them. And that's kind of what happens here. You get how sometimes like you go to a dinner party and there's like some good like charcuterie out there, and then all of a sudden they like take the charcuterie away, and then they're like, oh, now it's burgers or something. It's like, but the charcuterie,
The other thing that stuck, I got to mention this, guys. Like when they go to meet this guy in the shop, they're like, they go, your DNA doesn't match these aliens. But like, did they not figure out that he had the green glowing thing on his belt there?
Yeah. And tell me that's not a Terminator impression. Like, he's not like,
yeah, it does kind of look like a Terminator impression. I'm gonna go with you on that.
But like, there's no EM signals on this planet, and he's got like basically an electronic device on his belt.
Yeah.
But not only that, but like these guys should be able to detect Archer pretty quick too, because like Archer's running around with a fucking phase pistol. That thing's got to be emitting something.
Yeah, I don't think they were looking for him though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, as Dave said, this episode was in production on the Tuesday when the terrorist attacks of 9/11 occurred in New York City. And Mike Sussman stated that he still could not watch this episode as he could see the footage from that day. So basically what he was saying is that the enthusiasm and light from all the actors' eyes that day went away from their shooting during that was happening. I mean, it was a big
So
event
maybe that's what we're picking up on.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
some
were
of the
like,
garbage. was going
screw
on.
this. I hate this episode. I just want to go home or watch.
Yeah, I mean,
CNN
When
or
you're
whatever.
when you associate anything with a tragedy like that, it's going to hit you, right? So,
Yeah.
and if you're living during that tragedy while you're trying to do this, I can understand that.
And I bet you every one of us can remember where we were that day. So
I was in a cab when I first found out. I was on my way to work.
You all know what I was doing. So we can move on.
We're not going to talk about that.
now I want to know.
No, you don't.
No.
All right,
Well, no. It's not my story to tell.
All right.
Anyway, that's not for a podcast.
Okay.
Okay, let's get this done. According to unauthorized reference book Beyond the Final Frontier, the set of the curio shop in this episode included items seen on screen, which were actually an old variety of props from the original Star Trek storeroom. So they just took things out. Makes sense.
Nice.
These are great fun facts.
Oh,
No,
I didn't see anything there that like I was like, oh, I definitely recognize that from the original series. There was nothing that.
Some of those blades at the back there, they look like the original series stuff, like some of the props.
Yeah, I could see those.
Especially those the arena like episodes where like Kirk has to fight some sort of bad guy to save somebody.
They haven't
With
invented clocks though, even though they're pre-industrial.
T'Pol makes reference to a protocol which states that is wise to wait until society develops warp drive before initiating first contact. She goes on to say it would be wise for Starfleet to adopt these Vulcan protocols, and Starfleet, whoever said it earlier, Starfleet later adopts them as the essential prime directive, serving as a benchmark for measuring development of a civilization and a mission to the Federation. So the Vulcans did indeed influence this.
Absolutely.
Those are Vulcan protocols, not human.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that has to be Trip that says that, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
This episode's the first time chronologically when the chief medical officer performs a cosmetic procedure to make someone look like another species.
True, because McCoy did that a bunch of times too.
Mm-hmm. Chronologically, right. It also contains the first reference to Tellarites in Enterprise, who would make multiple appearances in the rest of the series.
The ugly Tellarite was it? Oh my, was there good looking Tellarites?
I guess it depends on whose beauty is in the eye of the
Pig
beholder.
people,
Dave.
but
Yep. And just as Spock did many times, T'Pol has to hide her Vulcan ears from indigenous people, which she has accomplished by wearing long hair to cover them. When she
could have wore a hood
or a headband.
or a headband. The two things that literally
Or a Nazi helmet.
Anything would have worked. Yeah, Nazi helmet would have worked too. And these people wouldn't have cared. They would have been like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It doesn't matter.
It would have been better if everybody on this planet had pointy ears and they had to cover up their rounded ears. That would have been better.
Just a little bit of a role reversal there, right?
Yeah.
Would have made something interesting happen.
The book, Beyond the Final Frontier, comments about this installment. It feels like a Riker episode of Next Generation, and the story doesn't amount to much
without Riker in it.
But there's something cathartic about seeing
this
a Starfleet
episode
officer.
reminds. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said this episode reminds me of that Riker episode where he's sick, and it's all flashbacks
Yes.
during the writer's strike.
Another boring episode.
Yeah.
And that about wraps it up.
I got a couple here just to tack on, if I may.
Please.
Entertainment
discovered by Dave. I like that.
Entertainment Weekly said T'Pol steals the show again and said she was more interesting than Captain Archer. Can't agree more. The romantic
that person makes perfect sense.
The romantic subplot with Archer and Rian was described as sweet but unaffecting. I agree with that too. Michelle Erica Green of Trek Nation called the episode a predictable fable of alien interference, which gets no marks for originality. Green was positive about the performance of the guest star Diane DeLacio. I thought she was good.
Yeah, she was a good actor.
And Ain't It Cool News gave the episode 2 out of 5, calling it pedestrian, comparing the poisoning story to a medieval alien Aaron Brockovich, and annoyed that the episode had no impact on the ongoing plot.
I like that. That's pretty good.
All right. So that's all. That was just all the details.
All right, let's get to ratings.
All right. Let's bring her up. Here we go. And make that a little bigger.
I always got to make it full screen so I can actually see it. I don't know why I'm always first on this one, but anyway.
Because your name is first.
Well, yeah, but the host should be at the end. It should be the guests first.
Okay, Kevin goes first then.
All right, I'll go first. This episode is a 2.5.
Whoa, 2.5. Wow, I didn't hate it that much.
Yeah, I give it a 5.5. Adam,
6.
I'm also a 6 on that as well. Average is a 5, which I think is the worst episode we've had so far, right?
Is it? No.
Oh, no. Terra Nova is still terrible. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I always forget about Terra Nova.
But if you look at the Internet Movie Database score, which we know is suspect at best, they gave the same rating to this as last week, but I don't think I think last week was much better.
Last week was definitely a better episode. Yeah.
Is this an Archer? We call this an Archer story, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately. I mean, that's why you get the 2.5.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Archer, but
somebody might be
again.
And the episode that comes after this is called Fortunate Son, which I don't know anything about other than it's
the freighter episode.
But Nausicaans?
Yes.
And it's directed by LeVar Burton.
Yep. This is one of the first ones that he ends up doing. Well, actually, I think it's the second one he's done.
Oh, yes. No, he gave us Terra Nova. Great.
He gave us Terra Nova, unfortunately.
Right? Yes. But I have a funny feeling he had nothing to do with that other than he showed up and they're like, "You're going to direct this one, right?" And he's like, "Shit." That's probably what it was.
Yeah.
But
the director doesn't decide the story. The director just tries to make the best
he's just there to do it. But unfortunately, they gave him probably one of the worst ones they could have given him. So when Captain Archer comes to the aid of a human freight vessel under attack by pirates, he's surprised to discover that the vessel's crew is less than grateful.
This is actually a good episode. I remember this one.
All right. And who would you say is the main character for that one? Is it Mayweather? Is it Reed?
No, it's not Mayweather yet.
I don't know. I don't really think there is a main one on this one. Everybody's just kind of there.
Ensemble. Yeah,
it's kind of an ensemble one, I think, but we'll see. Well, when we watch the episode, we'll make that decision. Right?
Okay. I'm just curious.
So,
I'm like, when are they gonna tell us more about some of these main cast members?
Yeah. So, did you know that Sam also provided a fun fact as well?
No, I didn't. What's that?
Did you know that Gilligan's Island pilot was filmed when JFK was shot? And if you look closely in the opening credits, you can see the U.S. flag as a tribute to him. There you go.
I did not know that. I don't know a lot about Gilligan's Island.
At this point, I'm bugging Dave for a Gilligan's Island podcast.
We'll see. I think
he also says rest in peace, Meatloaf, which I agree. That's unfortunate.
Meatloaf.
I love Meatloaf. I love both the food and the singer.
And the Louis Anderson, right? Was the other one?
And Louis Anderson also passed this week as well. Yeah, a very good comedian.
Both very young.
Yes, there's too many people dying in 2022.
You should get your vaccines, guys.
That's right. Well,
is that what got them?
I don't think. No,
Meatloaf.
Yeah, you never know.
Meatloaf. Yeah.
Was it Meatloaf? Yeah, Meatloaf did that one. I thought he was fighting cancer.
No, he was COVID.
Oh shit!
Right, and he never had a vaccine, and then he got.
Well, maybe he wouldn't do that.
But he
would do anything for love, but he wouldn't do a vaccine.
He wouldn't do that. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, well, anyway, I guess
Bob
that's
Saget also died of
early.
COVID or something, but I don't.
No,
they don't know with him. He had a pulmonary problem, didn't he?
Yeah,
like an aneurysm or something. So anyway, there's too much death going on.
Too much death. Let's talk more life.
You know what? If you can get a vaccine, get it.
Hey.
I have 3 of them at this point.
We're 2 weeks away from this thing peaking and the numbers start decreasing. You watch.
Yeah.
2 weeks from now.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I'm pretty covered.
The government is going down.
And I had COVID, so
Yeah, I got COVID, but I also had vaccine, and you know what? It was like a sinus cold. So you know what? I'm
I got my
grateful for that.
booster on Friday. So
Yeah, I already got my
I
third.
got mine yesterday.
Did ya? Good for you. They didn't give me Pfizer though; they gave me Moderna. But anyway,
Yeah.
Dave.
Sir.
Unfortunately, vaccines aren't the only thing that we talk about at Live Long and Podcast. We talk about other shows too.
That's right, Jody. On every Tuesday night, we talk with we've been talking about every episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine for, I guess it's coming up on 2 years.
Now that's a long road.
That's been a
Getting
long
from there
road.
to here.
You're dang right. And and Cisco, we're getting now into season 5. We're getting into some of the best stuff yet.
Cisco.
The best is yet to come.
You're getting that badass Cisco now.
Oh, you're at the Dominion War now, right?
We're just getting to it. We're just getting to it. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about the ship when the Cisco and Worf and Dax and a couple others, they find a crashed Dominion Jem'Hadar ship, and then they're trying to take it back, and it turns off into a standoff. It's a great episode. It was the 100th episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow with Kevin and Ashley Millard, Davin Skellhorn, Jaemeel Robinson, of course, Jeff Mader, the station commander over on Deep Space Nine at 9ish. Check that out.
Did he give himself that name? I just want to know.
Kind of,
Yeah. Sounds like something Jeff would do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's the I kind of designated him. I was like,
oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. And then Thursday, we will be talking about the next episode of Star Trek Prodigy, as they're coming. I thought it was going to be the end of season 1. Apparently, they're doing season 1 in 3 parts on Star Trek Prodigy. This will be the end. We're coming up on the end of part B or part 2, and part 3 will be sort of way later in this year. But I don't know if you guys have checked out Star Trek Prodigy. I would recommend it. It's not just for kids, although it's definitely meant for kids. And if you want to know what we think about it, check that out. Davin Skellhorn and I will be talking about that. Jessica Chan also joins us on this podcast, but she just had a baby, so we're gonna
congratulations, by the way.
Yes. Augustus, the baby Augustus has been
Mr. Gus. Mr. Gus, very cool name. Yeah, I like it.
Right. So
he was born on my mother's birthday.
Ooh,
there's some extra fun fact for you.
Yeah, it's a good birthday, and born a little bit early. So we're expecting Jessica to be off for the rest of these next 2 weeks. So Davin and I will close this out, and when that ends, Star Trek Discovery will be coming back to continue its 4th season.
Which I was wrong. They actually are renewing it for season 5.
They got a 5th season, so
because obviously Paramount is absolutely desperate.
Oh my God! Didn't we bet a great game of golf on that?
I think we did.
I think we might have.
Yeah. Come on, they're putting Big Brother Canada on Paramount, so they must be.
They're definitely desperate then.
And then Star Trek Picard will be coming March 11th or something.
And can't wait.
Star Trek Strange New
Mark
Worlds.
my words, it's going to be amazing.
In May. So yeah, a lot of new Star Trek coming up. Well, we seem to be always talking about on Thursdays. That seems to be the day they put it out. So check those out. Everything else we've covered in the past as well.
And you just released the edited version of
that's
Radio
right,
Theater,
Jody. Yes, I after many weeks of slowly picking away at the edit.
No, it's all that changing the data to data and all that, right?
Yeah,
that's what took so long.
That was part of it. I'm putting in background sounds and everything else. Anyway, so that if you go to our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, you will find an edited version of Star Trek First Contact from our Radio Theater read that was near the end of December. It's a much better listening experience, I would say. And so check that out if you have not already. I really had a lot of fun doing that, although the edit was later.
It was fun to listen to, that's for sure.
Yeah, it turned out. I don't know if you guys have heard it. Both. So Adam played Data in that production, and Kevin played Commander Riker. I don't know if you guys.
I haven't listened to it yet.
I didn't play anything because I wasn't invited. That's fine. I'm not bitter.
No.
I'm just kidding.
So we'll be coming back for Star Trek Radio Theater season 3 in 2022. Just
Excellent.
Give me a second. I just finished this edit. It was a lot. So but give me about a week and I'll start planning the next one. So. What else we got? Super Mater Brothers Podcasting has been pretty quiet lately. That's our other channel where Jeff and I, my brother, we talk about shows that aren't Star Trek. We are going to be talking about Ozark season 4A, I guess, or part 1.
Good
what a
series.
start! What a start!
Yeah, so I finished episode 7 last night of season 4. Jeff and I think we'll be talking about that on Wednesday because he's excited to talk about it, and we're going to be breaking that down. And then in a week's time, a week from Wednesday, start Celebrity Big Brother 3 will be starting, and I'll be talking about that probably with Jaemeel Robinson, hopefully with Jeff Mader too, and starting to cover that as that season. That's going to run the whole month of February. What else? Marvel Cinematic Universe podcasts over there, including we just did Hawkeye in the beginning of January, and we'll be doing, I guess, Doctor Strange in March, and we'll be talking about Moon Knight in March, I would presume as well. So check all that out at Super Mario Brothers Podcasting and Trivial Debates, our third channel, where we argue about movies, TV, sports, and more in a game show format each month.
We got a full lineup now?
We got a full lineup. We got Davin hosting. We got Chris and myself and Adam competing. It's going to be a good one, guys. February 6th.
Get your answers in? Get your answers in, Dave?
Oh, yeah. All my answers are in. Are yours?
Yeah.
And I guess we had no conflicts.
So you're waiting on Chris then, I'm sure.
Devin had some pretty good questions. I like them.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. We got some good ones coming up.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so check that out. I'll have it on the schedule officially probably by Sunday because I can only book these 1 week ahead.
So sorry, when is that happening?
February 6th. We're doing that February 6th.
Okay. So not this Sunday.
Shouldn't you know that?
It would
Adam?
normally be this Sunday, but we're Chris's work schedule's more demanding now, and so but this will be the official start of season 5 for Trivial Debates, if you can believe it. And so we're going to be talking about what's the best movie monologue of all time, what's sitcom best defined its era, what song is the best to listen to while you're rocketing or flying to space, who's the most influential athlete in their sport, which historical figure's life story would be best told in a comedy, and what is the most significant scientific breakthrough of the last 10 years. So there's a little teaser coming up about what we'll be talking about.
Last 10 years, that's a hard one.
Yeah, I know. It's very specific. And I'm just seeing here. Yeah, and CBS US coming February 3rd. I don't know what that is. BB 10 was teased. Yeah, that'll be coming in March, and we'll be talking about that too as well, Sam. Okay,
Sam,
Jody.
I think Sam is your groupie. I'm beginning to think that. Like he's following you everywhere, I think.
Well, he originally came to us from our Big Brother coverage. That's how he first found us.
Nice.
So that's why he's...
Well, we love having Sam, and hopefully he gets some sort of entertainment out of watching us. So,
hopefully.
Anyway, gentlemen.
More entertainment than watching Archer.
Come on now. It gets better, I swear.
Yeah, I hope so.
It might take a while, though. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I don't really have much to say, Dave. Why don't you play us out with something?
Okay. Live long in podcast, everyone. Good night.
This must be why aliens are always landing in cornfields.